This is Common Filth Extra, episode 18. Thank you very much for listening. It means a lot to me. So I'm on the Mirror right now, as this is some website that thinks that 50% of its readers, 50% of this website's readers think that climate change is the biggest threat to humanity. I actually think that it's moral apathy. But this caught my eye. How often should you shower? Not as much as you might think, according to science. Now, this is very dangerous. I've talked about the dangers of spreadsheet thinking. Our culture has too many borderline Asperger cases. I don't even know if Asperger's is a thing anymore, but the catch-all term, I guess, is autism. Yeah, I use that word a lot. But for whatever reason, whether it's GMOs, whether it's people having children too late in life, that's God's punishment, by the way. Retarded kids, that's punishment for old people fucking. But hey, a generation of Christians, that doesn't affect you. You having to pay the legion of monthly tugboats, that doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect you. But yeah, this says, how often should you shower? Not as much as you might think, according to science. Now, beep, boop, beep, science, 1010. This is ridiculous. Culturally, we say you shouldn't smell bad. You should bathe regularly, once a day. That's fine. Once a day, some deodorant, you're good to go. But what is intuitive is not scientific, therefore it's not real, because I fucking love science. Everybody loves science, don't they? For most people, taking a nice hot shower is something of a daily ritual. But according to a new study, rinsing off under the shower or in the bath isn't as important as you might think. Researchers at Columbia University have discovered that washing too frequently can dry out and crack your skin. So why don't you just take shorter showers? That might be a good idea. But no, let's all stink and be gross. That's fine. That's great. So I got a little bit of piece of investigative journalism for you. And it starts at Christian Today. And this is a piece written by Carrie Lodge. Remember that. Remember that. Remember that name. Article. Meet Allison Robinson, the first openly transgender Baptist minister. Now, we can say, oh, cook Christianity, this and that and the other thing. Now, lots of people like to say Jesus never said anything about a lot of things. Well, if that's what we're going with, Jesus never was documented of saying that the bestiality. He never said anything about that, so I guess that's okay. Did he say anything about necrophilia? Probably not, so that's okay too. Yeah, he didn't say these things, so that means it's okay. That's fine. That's allowed. What else? Jerking your wiener to 2D anime porn? That's fine. He didn't say anything about that either. So yeah, all this stuff is okay, and this is not worldly thing. These aren't worldly things that we worship above him. No, not at all. And this transgender thing, yeah, this is God here. This isn't a worldly thing. This isn't a product of the corruption of man. No, not at all. And by the way, this headline again says, meet Allison Robinson, the first openly transgender Baptist minister. Now, this is a beautiful blonde-haired white woman. Just beautiful. White girls are magic. And Allison. Now, Allison, it can be an older name, but notice that all of these like Gen X boomer male to female trannies, they always choose real millennial names. And now, like I said, Allison is an older name, but this is spelled with a Y. So any name with a Y in it, you know right away. That's a millennial name. So this idiot probably watched too much porn, liked porn more than he liked Jesus, and thought, gee, I want to be that. And this Carrie Lodge woman that, again, she wrote this article. We're going to talk about her later. But first, we're going to read the article from Christian Today. And again, this is wrong because chromosomes don't lie. Accepting this is wrong because chromosomes don't lie. God hates gender confusion. And I'm quoting verbatim from the Westboro Baptist Church. It's interesting. The Westboro Baptist Church, they aren't overrun with Somalians. The Amish country out in Pennsylvania, They're not overrun with Somalians and refugees. Africa isn't like, ooh, refugees welcome. Ooh, look at refugees welcome. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause. Christians in Africa aren't doing that shit. They're saying, fuck off, you're hostile to our way of life. As are the Amish, as is the Westboro Baptist Church. So there has to be something else at play here. These people who realize that this world is not all there is. In fact, it's not the most important thing. This world is not the important one. This life is not the important one. The groups I mentioned, they are people that recognize this. You see, the problem with European Christian civilization is that we did all this great stuff, right? We put our inherent intelligence to good work. But we thought that we could have the morality without God. We thought, wow, look at all of these things we've created. We did not create these things with the approval of God. We did not create these things in tribute to God. We created them for ourselves, and we're going to worship this. We will allow ourselves to be seduced by the worldly things that we have created for ourselves, and we will make a false idol out of it. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about post-Christian morality. So we think we can have all this altruism and express it to everyone without realizing that there is a God, there is one God, and that he is enforcing a standard. And you better not deviate from that. And if you do, you better repent with all of your heart. So we think that everyone is our friend, everyone's our brother, everyone's our neighbor, without realizing, wait, are these people God's enemies or are they not? You see, we need to make that distinction. And we don't make that distinction anymore because who's making the decisions? It's not God. It's our own flawed perspective. We are making decisions from our own flawed perspective, a perspective that cannot stand on its own, people who cannot stand on their own. I think that's been proven. Look at this guy. Tries to stand on his own. He wants to become a woman and give himself a millennial name where the Y's replace the vowels. So we're going to read this. Allison Robinson had been married for over a decade when she says she finally spoke my truth. And notice she's using the correct pronouns. Very, very worldly there. Very worldly. You being right with the world means you're right with God. No, that's how it works. Don't worry about it, sweetie. Carrie Lodge. We'll get into you in a bit. Because, there's a good point we need to make about her. At the time, she was known as Daniel Robinson, and she told her wife, Danielle, that she wanted to be a woman. Formerly an Army officer and then studying to be a minister at Texas Baylor University, the largest Baptist university in the world, it wasn't a decision she took lightly. In fact, as she wrestled with her sexuality, Robinson was almost driven to take her own life. Good, you should have. I grappled with the truth that was emerging within me at that time in ways I'd never had before. It nearly led me to suicide. What truth? Your chromosomes still say the opposite of what you think you are. This is your own psychosis, not truth. This is the opposite of truth by any measure. By any measure. It nearly led me to suicide, as she told Christian Today. She would cry all the way to divinity school, a 45-minute commute, and again all the way home. Why? You know, I've gone through depression in my life before. I didn't do anything crazy like that. This too shall pass, is what I thought to myself. And it did. One day, she considered deliberately driving into the river, afraid of what coming out as transgender would mean for her wife, children, and church. It would destroy them. It probably has, but this golden retriever girl, who's more concerned with pleasing her worldly master than, actually doing the right thing, she's going to spin like, oh, they're so happy, right? Hey, they say they're happy, right? They're not just saving face, right? Right? Can I have a pat on the head? Can I have a treat? Yay! That's what she's thinking. That's what's going on inside of her head. And that is why she's a golden retriever girl. You see, golden retriever girls are nice, they're cute, they're friendly. But you don't want to hear it bark. You don't want to hear what it has to say, because it says nothing. By grace alone in that moment, I caught myself thinking those thoughts and realized that was not the way forward, she recalls. I didn't know what the right way was, but I knew there had to be some other way. So cutting off your cock and balls, that's the right way? And you've had a wife and kids? No, it's fine. I mean, as long as they're white, right? This is what I've been seeing. You think, spending enough time on Twitter, this is what I'm seeing. Some people say, no one's ever said it's okay if white people do it. No, I've seen it. People are like, oh, don't ask if people are conservative or liberal. Figure out if people are pro-white or anti-white. So basically what you're saying is that if you are a restrained or a hedonist, as long as you're cool with white people, it's okay. Because that's ultimately what we're talking about when we're talking about liberal and conservative. We are talking about the hedonistic liberals versus the restrained conservatives. That is what we are referring to, and I've been seeing people all over express the sentiment that, as long as you're cool with white people, that's the most important thing. Not your conduct, not your character, just as long as you have an opinion that aligns with mine. This is what I've been seeing. I'm telling you what I am seeing. What anybody who can read English is seeing. I'm the only one interpreting it in the right way. I'm the only one interpreting it at all. And notice there hasn't been one mention of Christ here. 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph. Now we're on the 3rd paragraph. I'll start now. She started seeing a therapist to begin an in-depth study of LGBT theology. It's ironic that the seminary at the largest Baptist university in the world has an incredibly diverse library on faith, sex, and gender, she laughs. It gave me many different perspectives. I realized that there were other perspectives, and that began a journey for me. So God's perspective, that's just his, and not the. This is why you need an objective measure. And now this is different from spreadsheet thinking. This is different from dude science. When it comes to morality, it's all subjective if there's no God. It is all meaningless and arbitrary if there is no God. Which is why God is so important. We see this chaos, this madness, and that's exactly what it is. This is an absence of God. Because without God, this is fine. Whatever, this is the only life you get, live it how you want. Without God, everything is permissible. It gave me many different perspectives. I realized that there were other perspectives, and that began the journey for me. Notice it's always like empowerment and journey and discovery and it's in every one of these articles you'll find this set of words. She told her family the truth, and Danielle vowed to stand by her. A retard. As did the majority of her relatives. The support of her loved ones has not just empowered my ministry and my work for inclusion, but it has strengthened me and helped me to see myself as a beloved child of God in ways that I never did before I came out. Oh my God. Robinson went on to become the first openly transgender minister to be ordained in the Baptist tradition and served as a transitional pastor at Calvary Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. MSNBC called her the most radical preacher in America because she preaches worldly values, worldly liberal values. She realized, however, that not everyone who identifies as transgender or who struggles with their sexuality is fortunate to find such support, particularly within the church. It's why she's dedicated herself to the promotion of LGBT civil rights. Oh man, there you go. Cocksucking and sodomy. You know, the thing we call the thing we named after Sodom and Gomorrah. The people who were so wicked that God destroyed them mercilessly. This weekend, She's speaking at the Gay Christians Network. Now notice the organization of words there. Notice that. How you speak is how you think. Gay Christian. What takes precedent? Jizz. Jizz takes precedent. Sodomy takes precedent. That's what takes precedent. This is the equivalent of your freshman in college, sister, sibling, whatever, who's like, I'm spiritual but not religious. I'm spiritual but not religious. That's all that is plausible deniability. Gay Christians Annual Conference in Houston, Texas. Steers and Queers. It's the world's largest LGBT annual LGBT Christian conference again. Notice the ordering of the word. Come takes precedent over Christ. Christ, rather. Gotta get that T in there, right? And we'll explore what's next for the church as it grapples with issues of sexuality and gender in the midst of a culture war. I don't know, it's more like a cultural graveyard, if we're going to be honest. It's a culture slaughter, is what it is. Or anybody who is decent and who's on the wrong side of the world, wrong side of history, is skewered, is sacrificed at the altar of secular globalism. That it's sick. It is, and I know I say that a lot, but that's what it is. We have cancer. European civilization and its offshoots, we are infected with cancer. And my friends at Iron March, they made a great point about how whites would rather get cancer than get into a fight. And that's exactly what's happening. But we'll continue. I think it's critically important at this point in history that places like Gay Christian Network exists. In American culture, why are you moving my page spot? I didn't even click on anything. In American culture, we have, over the course of a generation or two, lost the ability to speak across our differences, and that applies equally to Christians and to those who profess other faiths or no faith. What the fuck are you talking about? That I should want common ground with a cocksucker like you? You porn addict? That's what you are. You're like, I like porn more than I like my family. I make bad penis decisions. I make bad decisions all the time. I want to be the object of desire. Why can't I be like one of those porno girls? That's what this guy did. One of the things I love about Gay Christian Network is its tradition and commitment to make a space where people who don't agree on all the details can get together as followers of Jesus and share worship. So right there, we have the first mention of Jesus like halfway, more than halfway into this article. That shows you where your priorities are. Previous speakers include evangelical author Philip Yancey, blogger Rachel Held Evans, and Baptist theologian Tony Campolo, who announced his support of same-sex relationships in June last year. Hold on, I'm gonna look up the Okay, look up Philip Yancey. White. Rachel Held Evans. White, golden retriever girl. And Tony Campolo. He's the former spiritual advisor to Bill Clinton. Yeah, that's who you should be taking theological advice from. God wants you to get your dick sucked in the Oval Office. No, I promise. Fucking... the conference encourages Christians with different perspectives. Yeah, I'm sure you have different perspectives to come together and wrestle with the big questions facing the church, like, should we bottom or should we top? We're so clever. More. The U.S. legalized same-sex marriage last year through provisions have been made for churches and religious organizations to refuse to perform ceremonies for gay couples. Good. Wait, though provisions. Okay, yeah. Though provisions have made this. Okay, good. Why should they? Why should they affirm the illegitimate? Some denominations, such as American Baptist Churches USA, allows individual congregations to decide whether to ordain LGBT clergy or perform same-sex marriages. But the majority remain in favor of a traditional stance. It's led to renewed accusations that the church is outdated and irrelevant. Yeah, that's what you should be concerned with, being hip. Hey, you aren't hip. You aren't cool. Fucking ridiculous. Again, you don't see the Westboroughs doing this. You don't see the Amish doing this. You don't see African Christians engaging in this. Let's pay tribute to the world before we consider, wait, is this really what God wants? You know, all that stuff about bearing fruit. You know, bear fruit. You're commanded, go out, go forth and multiply, bear fruit. And be a good tree. And you will bear good fruit. You can't bear fruit. The only fruit that faggots bear, HIV, the only fruit that trannies bear is they help with the retirement funds of our nation's mental health workers. It's such an important job they do. Yeah, outdated and irrelevant. Yeah, that's what you need to be. Yeah, being relevant in today's world, that's a badge of honor. You know, the world doesn't tell you that chopping off your cock and betraying your wife and kids. And I noticed there's no mention of the wife and kids. Not like, oh, or how do they feel about it? Which tells you a lot about how they really feel about it. And the woman in that, his wife, the wife of this crazed porn addict who wants to be a lady, this guy, she's probably like, I gotta be a good Christian wife and be faithful. Look, God knows that you cannot be loyal to that which is not loyal to you. This man is not loyal to you. He is loyal to his psychosis and will use any justification to make him seem important and righteous. And yeah, I'm fine. This is what God wants. I'm justified. Don't worry about it. And this woman is trapped. She doesn't realize that she's ensnared by this worldly demon. Did Christ say, be like the world? The world's a great place. No. He said, I came this world not to judge it, but to save it. But those who reject me, they're going to get judgment. The devil is real, and you're hearing it right now. This article. This is the devil at work. And this is written by one of his children, one of his converts, Carrie Lodge. Keep that name in mind. We're gonna tell you about Carrie Lodge in a minute here. I think that the church may always suffer from this impression that it's behind the times simply because it's rooted in traditions and cultures, many of which date from before the time of Christ, and I think that's okay. That said, I think our society has watched the church grapple with these questions, and many are disappointed that it has taken the church longer comparatively than the rest of society to come around. These people don't read the Bible. They don't. They don't fucking read the Bible. They're just, they use it as a thing to make themselves seem more interesting. Like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, ooh, you bet you didn't know that. They use it as lifestyle striving. Like, ooh, look at me. I'm all this stuff. But Jesus is cool. Except that they're lying. They're not following Jesus. Though she commended the church for its conservative nature, the way that it measures very carefully the winds of change before it sets sail to them. Again, if you are... What the fuck is the point of a church if it's not going to stay? If it's not going to remain? If it's going to remain a baseline? If the baseline is changing, it's not a fucking church. It's not God, it is the world. This is giving me cancer. Robinson says that that same caution may be hindering its ability to reach out to those outside. Oh yeah, that's what's gonna get more people in the pews appealing to secularist nonsense. Secularist whims. That's what's gonna get people to convert. Fuck you. Why would they come in when they could just get it out there? These people have no idea what they're fucking talking about. It's important for the church to weigh carefully the pull of the culture in which it lives, and yet that careful weighing serves to set it apart from culture in ways that can be less than helpful for the church's mission of carrying forth the gospel into the future. Oh, suck cock, and yeah, that's good. You can suck dick. The gospel of sucking dick. That's what's going to get people. Sexuality is just one of many issues the church has faced. Many believe it's become more divisive than necessary, but Robinson says it's crucial we get to grips with it. The biggest difference here is that the traditionalist stance on the inclusion for LGBT people in the church is hurting people. How? Yeah, it should fucking hurt. It should hurt saying you value this more than you value the King of Kings. You bend over. You bend over on, you stick your ass out there for this. You don't kneel at the proper altar. You kneel at the altar of sodomy, facing the wrong way. Or the right way, depending on the perspective of the world. The changing winds. Yeah, according to the changing winds, you're facing the right way. Now, you should listen to that. In fact, I don't think it's alarmist to say that it is killing people. Fuck off. They deserve to die if they loved their sin more than they love Christ. Because of the influence the church continues to wield in our society. What influence? If the church is essentially a secularist entity. The church in America, anyway. And I'll add another group to that. The Westboros, the Amish, the Africans. I'll add another group to that. The Russians. You don't see them pulling this shit. What else? It's killing people. Because of the influence the church continues to wield across our society. Again, no. It gives this conversation a different level of gravity than conversations about worship style of some of the other finer points of theology. Like what? The good news is that Robinson believes, good news, there's hope for the future. There's hope for the future for LGBT Christians. Again, the wording. They value their sin more than they value struggling to find their place within the faith community. She says it's very likely but not inevitable that soon there will be many more Christian leaders who identify as LGBT across the denominations. Again, this is not a church. This is not the Church of God. This is not the Church of Christ. This is the church of the world. The world is at odds with Christ. The world is at odds with Christ. The world is at odds with Christ. I think that the future rests on our ability, and by I mean LGBT affirming Christian people, to continue to hold the institution accountable while finding new ways to cross the divide, ways that reflect the truth that outside of the walls of the institution, this war is over. Okay, and again, the world is always wrong. We are taught that. The people are always wrong. The cultural war has come to a close, at least on this front, and those of us on the affirming side have won, she said. Again, you are more loyal to the world than you are to Christ. LGBT Christians, where's the worldly thing coming in that? First. And even if it came last, they'd be like, oh, I'm a Christian, but I'm also putting more value on I'm putting equal value on my sin. So let's get that out of the way. It is critical that we, as affirming Christians, find ways not to become the kind of church that once rejected us. No, that's what we need to become. Because that's why it is losing relevance that's why it's losing relevance everywhere. And by relevance, I mean people actually practicing it. Because you're falling prey to worldly shit. Again, the world doesn't say get up for church on Sunday morning. That's what the kids are thinking. They'll be like, oh, I'll just go to my gay straight alliance club at school. I have to get up for that anyway to go to school. I'll stay there. Joke. Now, the woman who wrote this, her name, Carrie Lodge, works at Christian Today. I looked her up on Facebook, and this is where the investigation came in. Because she is a white woman. White girls are magic, very magical, just like the white girl portrayed in this article, or, the profile given here. So, just as Allison Robinson, beautiful white woman, blonde white woman, Aryan Girls in Wheatfields, very beautiful. Carrie Lodge is also White Girls Are Magic. Carrie Lodge is a journalist for Christian Today. Works at Christian Today, from Cranbrook, Kent, lives in London, United Kingdom. The sun has set several times over on the British Empire. And for the exclamation point, she's holding a child, a baby. I don't think it's hers because she says, already my favorite little man. So, this probably isn't her. She doesn't look like she just gave birth. She's all done up very nicely, but she's holding a baby. So this kid is related to her in some way. And she says, oh, already my favorite little man. Well, you know what? You need to be more LGBT affirming. How dare you gender a baby? So, and I found out that a lot of these pause pig guys, like on the bareback thing that we read, the breeding zone, that's what it was, some number of months back. A lot of them are in London. So, LGBT affirm that, you cunt. And Carrie Lodge, if by some miracle you are listening to this, you are the reason God sent ISIS. As you sow, so shall you reap. And to close out this segment, I will reiterate. Do you see the Westboro Baptist Church struggling with the war against ISIS? No, you don't see the Westboro Baptist Church getting blown up. Do you see Amish country overrun with ISIS and Somalians and all these other hostile invaders? You don't. Do you see Africans, refugees welcome, African Christians saying refugees welcome? No, you don't. Do you see Russians doing this shit? No, you don't. Very interesting where the terrorists are ending up, don't you think? What else do we have? Protesters across USA demand $15 minimum wage, which is, that headline is placed right above this headline. Flashback, robot serves 360 hamburgers per hour. Look, I really feel bad for these people who are stuck in fast food jobs. I really do. But you gotta understand, society paying for fast food is society doing you a favor. It's like, look, here's a good job. You show up, you get your money to do this. I understand it's hard work, but it's not terribly skilled work. All right? There is a difference, all right? I get it. You're unskilled, and you think you're not making enough, but you know what? Anybody can do what you can do. Robots can do what you do. So relax, get yourself together, learn a skill in the meantime, and I get it. I feel bad for you people, but on the other hand, it's like this is you suffering for the short-sightedness of your parents. Your parents had no plan for you. Those who were stuck in fast food hell. Your parents had no plan for you. They didn't. They're probably unskilled themselves. They act without actually thinking, without thinking through. Like, if I do this, this will happen. None of that. And I'm not even all that opposed to increasing the minimum wage. I think there is a compromise that can be reached. I think that if you introduce small increases in the minimum wage contingent upon inflation, currency inflation, I think that would be fine. But again, the average idiot doesn't know what inflation is. They don't know what the value of currency is. They just think, it's a dollar, it's a dollar. They think $1 is $1 all the time. It's absurd. But that's who these politicians are preying upon. The stupidity of people. The stupidity of people who are unskilled. Who think that what they do is worth $15 an hour flipping burgers. They're preying on the stupidity of these people who don't understand that inflation is a thing. And increasing the minimum wage to $15, it's just moving the starting line. Yeah, you're moving the starting line closer, but you're moving the finishing line just as much. Not closer, further. And this wouldn't be a problem if these people weren't allowed to vote, but they are. But politicians realize this. They can get themselves a few more election cycles if they hammer this through. They'll get the votes of the really fucking stupid people that think more money, more in my paycheck equals more value. Like, I'll be able to buy more stuff with this paycheck. No, you'll be paying for these either the same amount of stuff or less. You'll be like, why is everything getting more expensive? This is why you need worthy shepherds, righteous shepherds, and not LGBT affirming shepherds. God. Why? These people are hell sent. If you're right with the world, you're wrong with God. And look, the world might seem a very nice place, but it will get you in the end. It will. It will destroy you. Whatever worldly thing. Everything changes. Everything solid turns into vapor. Everything that is tangible will go away. It will change. Races, nations, material, solid mass, matter, it goes away. It alters, it changes. And this is why so many people are miserable. This may have been a source of misery for you. It's been a source of misery for me, placing my faith in worldly things, because worldly things have always betrayed me. Most people, they get betrayed over and over again, and they keep going back like an abused animal that doesn't know any better. They need prayer, they do. But you pray for the imperfect. You don't worship the imperfect. Don't place your faith in the world. The world will always exploit your vulnerability. Always. 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 And this is a vulnerability that every person has. Don't think you're exempt from this. I'm certainly not. Every depression I've ever had in my life was a result of putting my faith in worldly things. That depression was God's punishment for saying, hey, you're focused on the wrong thing. So think about that the next time you see somebody saying, faith in humanity restored. It ain't going to be restored for very long. You don't see what's on the other side of that faith. You don't see the inevitable betrayal because nobody talks about it. Nobody can even fathom it. That the result of their depression is because they are opening their soul to the wrong thing. And the fools that make up our world, who value their vices above all else, so much that they'll let it kill them, will keep doing it over and over and over and over and over again.